I was talking to my wife about the last couple of shows, and she thinks we're obsessed with boards, and we kind of are, or
Yeah,
I
you are.
kind of am
Definitely.
anyway.
Damn right. I
Um,
like.
and she was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't totally understand why you're obsessed with boards. So I want to start with a very brief explainer, which you can kind of help me on. Um, Starting with the question, like, wait, why do we give a shit about boards again? Like, why do we talk so much about boards here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to start with number one, and you can fill in any blanks that I'm missing. Number
All right.
one, you are a shareholder of companies, okay?
Or stakeholder.
Or,
Let's
or a
include stake.
stakeholder. But even as
Yeah.
like if you have a retirement plan, you're a shareholder. So that's a lot of
Sure. Okay.
people who have a
Fine.
retirement plan. Even if you don't know what's in it, even if you're just owning like the S&P 500 ETF, like just the market, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't care, you still own shares of companies. Okay. So that's number one. And if you buy stuff from a company, when you like this Christmas or holiday season, when you were buying shit on Amazon, you
Yeah.
are effectively a stakeholder in that company as a consumer. You
Definitely.
support that company.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that's number one. Like the
Mm-hmm.
board is involved in your life in ways that you don't necessarily know as a shareholder, as a stakeholder.
Let's say, you know what, to make to help, I think, talk about what a board is or why it's important. Let's use Facebook as an example because I think it because of the unique situation there. I think it's worth using the Facebook board as a
Facebook's
right. So you use
interesting
like yeah.
because the board doesn't matter in a way, but
Okay, but it could and should, and it's regulated too. So
right.
let's pretend it does,
Okay, let's
right? Let's
pretend it
this is
does.
why, and this is why we're obsessed with boards and why we think it should matter. So
Which
that's
gets
what I'm
us
thinking.
which
Yeah.
gets us to number two.
Hmm.
As a shareholder, you are the board's boss. Okay? For
Right, because
most
they're
companies,
independent, right? Most of them are independent. They don't have a. I mean, you're right. I mean, they don't really have. They're not answering to anyone else at the company,
they do
right?
not answer to the company. For most companies, Facebook is an example of where you are not the board's boss. Mark Zuckerberg is the board's boss. But for most companies,
Right.
you are the board's boss. And that means that you get to sort of say a little bit what you care about, like what the board does. You are their boss. So if you're wondering like, well, okay, I'm a shareholder, I still don't care about boards. I'm the board's boss, but so what? What the board does, if you don't like what Facebook is doing, for instance, if it was a normal company,
Hmm.
you can vote the board out. Okay?
Right.
Facebook, you can't do that because Zuckerberg owns them.
Right, but you can send a. There have been examples of controlled companies where one person like Zuck controls the vote, but the non-controlling shareholders make such a stink that it actually does lead to changes. So
It can.
if I, if you continuously voted against the board at Facebook, even tone deaf Zuck might be like, okay, I'm going to make some changes.
Highly unlikely. Um,
Okay, okay, but
but
still, it's
but the last point I kind of want to make
yeah.
on why we care about boards is the board. So you're a shareholder, you're the
Hmm.
board's boss. The
Right,
board is management's boss. Okay.
right, right. That's the most important thing. So the board is set up to be a counterbalance to management, which you have no control over hiring and no control over the day-to-day operations, but the board does. And again, it's meant to be the counterbalance to the management.
Capitalism is surprisingly democratic in this way because you elect board members as a shareholder. You are their
Hmm.
boss. They are answerable to you as a shareholder. Their job is to run management. If you don't like what management's doing, you vote out the board. That's how you
Yeah,
actually affect change at companies.
yeah. And
So
that's pretty big because at some companies and in some countries, if that board member does not get a majority support, they are
they're
gone
gone,
immediately.
done.
Yeah,
Now in this country, we get zombie board members if they decide to stick
yeah,
around. But these are all
yeah.
exceptions to the rule. The
Right.
baseline here is you are a shareholder, you're the board's boss, and the board is management's boss. So, you know, if you don't like that the FedEx package came really late during the holiday season, you think their operation stinks, and you go into your retirement account, you realize you're holding FedEx, you
Hmm.
actually can do something about that, which is to say, this board is not helping this company run well. I will vote members out until I'm happy with them. You
Yeah.
can do that.
Believe it or not, you can do that.
Believe it or not, you can do that. So yesterday, I had a whole spiel about McDonald's board and a bankrupt company, trucking company's board, and in which I kind of asked the question: is there really a difference? Because I talk a lot about like white stale men who sort of run these boards, who are on these boards. Is there really a difference between a frat party board and a corporate board? Is there a distinguishable difference? In fact, I went through the process of McDonald's board because McDonald's is talking about culture change. And I said, look at all these interplays between McDonald's board and all these other boards and how they're interrelated. And really, the point of that is to get to one question, which is, these people are labeled independent stewards of your money as a shareholder. Right? So I talked about Miles White yesterday. His name doesn't matter. He could be anybody. He happens to be an old stale white guy. I mean, I don't know if he's stale. I haven't met him. But I can tell you that he's an independent director at McDonald's, and he's interconnected with all of these other board members and companies in all these different ways, such that you have to wonder whether or not, like, what his incentive is. If all your buddies are on the board or in management or on another company who's also on this board, if they're all over the place, what is your incentive? So
hold on. Let me interrupt for 1 second.
Please.
So it's important to point out that the term independent here is completely subjective.
Yes.
Right? There's no objective sense of the term. I mean, so as we pointed out here, in England, if you've been on the board for 10 years, you are legally not independent, and you can't, there's no way you can make the case otherwise. You're just simply not independent anymore. And in the US, they have certain criteria for, what makes a director independent or not. At the corporate library, which is a company, a predecessor to MSCI, which I started at, we sort of pioneered this approach where we weren't comfortable with with the way companies were liberally using the word independent. So we developed another term because we didn't feel like they really were independent. And these things caught on after a while in the industry. So just because you call someone independent doesn't mean it's real, right? I mean, it's not based on objective criteria. So it's worth pointing out here that more often than not, the company will say someone's independent, but that doesn't mean they're independent. So anyway, I don't want to get lost here.
Well, my takeaway here was that Damien pioneered stuff. That was my takeaway.
I like that.
No, but the fact is, to your point, and I went through the data today and yesterday, I was looking at it, and you will find companies whose CEO retired like 2 or 3 years ago. The CEO, the now ex-CEO, who was the CEO for 10 years, is on the board, and they are suddenly labeled independent because they are no longer the CEO of the company. They are no longer management. Now, you tell me whether someone who works in a company for like 40 years, is the CEO for 10 of those years, is on the board, and they're independent of the company.
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy. And that was one of the first things that we changed. We no longer would call those people independent because it's nuts. Come on, it's ridiculous.